Yeah, so Joe Root named player of the match, no surprise, for his match, his aggregate of 258 runs, 218 in the first innings and 40 in the second innings. That, with the first test win, also means Joe Root now joins his fellow Yorkshireman Michael Vaughan as England's winningest test captain with 26 wins in the win column. So he sits atop the pile. His 26 wins achieved from 47 games. It took Vaughan 51 games to get to 26. His percentage, the second most impressive on this list behind Mike Brearley. And he has 10 away wins and counting. Very impressive from Joe Root indeed. He also leads the list of the most away wins. I noted that with 10. And yeah, so England, as I told you at the start of the series, I bet on England to win 2-1, and it's an excellent start they've made to regaining this Anthony de Mello trophy. And yeah, they're only the fourth team to beat India in India since the start of 2011. So I go to the panel. The pitch, Wayne remarked that from early on the third day, wherever the ball pitched, there was a puff of dust. I'm suggesting to you, Wayne, that it was even before that, it was late on day 2, that we all realized that this track was a bad track. But England, by virtue of the way they batted in the first innings, and of course Joe Root's contribution, they batted the home side out of the game from that first innings, which means it was an excellent toss to win.
Absolutely, Josh. Let's talk a little bit about Captain Joe Root. Right, the 6 games he's playing, they call it the winter, because they went to Sri Lanka for 2 test matches and they are in India for 4. In Sri Lanka, he scored 228. And also in the second test, 186 was run out just before the close of play. And in this test match, his 100th test match, he scored 218. 2 double centuries and a huge century in 3 test matches. Now, he emasculated the Indians. I mean, you know, he kept them in the field for more than 2 days. They bowled 190 overs and 1 ball. George, you're talking about 1,141 balls the Indians had to bowl to dismiss them. Can you imagine how tired that was for the guys? No legs, no arms, and therefore they just ran through them. Of course, he wanted to add a little extra spice to the win by saying how good a pitch it was. It's a good pitch because he batted first. And I've always talked about the fact that you don't want to bat last on these test matches when the pitch is, you know, wearing and so on. And he made good use of the batting first and kept them in the field for so long. This has to be the greatest time in his life, a purple patch that he'll never have. I can't imagine repeating this. Fantastic stuff.
Before Mariah comes in, I just want to ask you, as a former first-class opening batsman, this proves how difficult the job of the openers are in Test cricket or in organized cricket, because when you spend so much time chasing leather, as you remarked how many balls India were in the field for the number of days, the opening batsman, if you realize India never really had any opening partnership of note in the 2 innings, it brings into focus the pressure that opening batsmen have to face, especially when they come back to bat after a long day in the field or a long time in the field.
It's serious, George, and that's why they talk about fitness now. I've seen that the India team, they are introducing a new fitness regime. It's even more harder now, and everyone has to do it. And I'm telling you, George, it is so difficult when you're in the field for that long length of time. And I'm telling you, George, as an opening batsman, you're getting close to close of play, you're begging them not to get out, because you don't want to be facing 2 or 3 or 4 overs in the evening. You want to come out the following day. It was just an amazing performance, and this, I think, heads are going to roll in India if they don't improve. Maria talked about the fact that they will improve and they'll come back for the other 3 test matches. Well, heads are going to roll if they don't improve.
Definitely, Wayne and George. So I think Virat Kohli, in the post-match press conference, he spoke about that. He said that their downfall, India's downfall, is the fact that they did not spend enough time between the wickets at the crease. And, you know, he went on to say that he also wanted to add that a lot of criticism came surrounding his selection of the team. Many people felt that he did not pick Kuldeep Yadav, who, you know, they felt would have done a lot of damage where England is concerned, and of course limit the amount of runs that England piled on them. But he wanted to just justify that, you know, he wanted variety in the bowling attack. And I felt like those 2 points that Virat brought up kind of showed why the team suffered such a massive loss. And I think going into the second test, they're going to be making changes. They can't go in with the same unit.
All right. After the break, we'll hear from our expert over there in the UK, David Brooke. Kohli has now presided over a 4th straight test defeat, and our English-based correspondent David Brooke joins us to review the test. David, good afternoon, welcome.
Afternoon, George. I couldn't agree more with what you said at the start of this series. You called it right. England in the driving seat. And your money's down, is it, George?
Yes, it is. My money is down, and I'm hoping that it continues as it has started. But let us start the discussion this way, David. James Anderson's first wicket in top level cricket in 2001, Ian Ward was Lancashire, of course. A piece of reverse swing he exhibited to get that first wicket. Well over 100 test matches later, and 19 years after that 2002 introduction, Jimmy Anderson still the master of swing. How important was his 3-wicket burst, and how important was that over where he got 2 of those 3 wickets, an over that many people are saying is the finest over by an English bowler in history?
Well, absolutely. It was the over that broke the dam. It was the golden over. Yeah, people are comparing it to, well, the last over that we can recall that's memorable as that was the one that Flintoff bowled to Langer and Ponting in 2005 in that England Ashes win. This was a super over from, as you say, Jimmy Anderson is the gift that just keeps on giving to English cricket. In fact, his record since he turned 30 is better than the record before he was 30. He's taken 343 of his 611 wickets since he was 30 years old, age of 25. But that over today, the reverse swing, the LBW shout that was also close, and in between 2 superb bowled through the gate. Gill and Rahane both bowled through the gate. As Wayne said, that spell, 5 overs, 3 maidens, 3 for 6, that broke the spirit, it broke the dam, and everything else after that was a procession.
Let me ask you though, what do you think would have been going through Jimmy Anderson's mind? And I have to ask you, because we can't question Jimmy today, when for the first time in 12 years, David, he didn't open the bowling. That was Jack Leach and Jofra Archer responsibility. Jimmy was made to wait for the first time in 12 seasons, and yet he came and was effectively the difference maker.
Do you know, George, I don't think he would have minded. I think he's a team man. I honestly think he's the consummate team man. He was held back for a reason. They wanted to wait until the ball was going to reverse swing. And I think, in a way, though, that golden over was all in the setup, wasn't it? The build-up, the overs he'd bowled in the first innings, all leading up to that. And I don't think Jimmy Anderson would have complained about that. I think he is a team man. He's been a fantastic part of the side now for such a long time. As I say, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
David, you know, whenever things doesn't go the way of a particular team, the first thing they want to do is change the team. Do you see India making any changes as they head into the second test?
Oh, yes, of course. You pointed out the contradiction in Kohli's press conference before. He said he didn't play Kuldeep Yadav because he wanted more variety in the attack. You don't get more variety than Kuldeep Yadav. He's a very unorthodox, left-arm bowler. He would have given everything in terms of variety. So there's some muddled thinking there and regarding selection. Look, they're trying to fill a huge hole left by Ravi Jadeja, who is such an important part of this Indian team. But they didn't help themselves by going in with, 2 out of 3 frontline bowlers, rookies. And they didn't help themselves with that. Questions are going to be asked about that, the composition of the bowling attack. That's for sure. And Rohit Sharma, well, we have to write off that game. He had a game that he would surely like to forget.
What about Cheteshwar Pujara? He's yet to fire, but he's somebody that the former Indian captain, Sunil Gavaskar, has a lot of praise for. He sees him as the glue in the Indian team. We're awaiting a lot of batsmen to fire. What do you think will come from Pujara?
Well, I think he's got a lot of goodwill in the bank, Mariah, after his performances in Australia. He single-handedly took on that Rahul Dravid role of the wall. Yeah, he didn't come good. Forget he got 70 odd in the first innings. So it was only this innings where the dismissal of Pujara was also a key moment. And that you'd have to say that India have relied on him. He is the glue that holds this team together, and without him, well, Kohli tried to play that role, and in the end, it was Ben Stokes. I said Ben Stokes would chip in with a valuable one. Whenever England need that valuable wicket, he's still the talisman there.
All right, David, in the post-match interview, the captain, Joe Root, spoke about the pitch. It was a good pitch. Yes, they made 578 in their first innings, but they were bowled out for 178 or 179 in their second innings. India got part of the pitch as well when it was pretty decent. They got 337, but they were blown away in that fourth innings. Is it a situation where he's adding some shine to the fact that they won the game and therefore he's putting that out there, the fact that it was a good pitch? Was it really a good test pitch?
Well, I mean, I agree with your assessment that it did deteriorate. The pitch deteriorated, and therefore the who batted first was really important. And there's no doubt. I mean, Kohli took a good look at the pitch when he was dismissed, because the ball did keep a little low from Stokes, and there was a lot of turns. So what is interesting is the second test, which starts on Saturday, is obviously on the same ground. So we can expect to see similar conditions. And again, the question of, well, they won't spend too much time thinking about it. Whoever wins the toss knows what to do. Okay,
Maria alluded to the fact that she's expecting some changes for the second test, and I think you agreed with her as well. Is it fair for an international cricket for a player to be dropped after one game? It shouldn't be, at least they should be given 2 chances.
Well, life's not fair, is it? I mean, he did improve as the game wore on, but I don't think he's going to pose, going to be, if India need to get back into this series now, so they can't afford to pick any sentimental selections, or they have to pick the best possible team. And if he's the best second spinner in India, then I'd be extremely surprised. I mean, don't forget, England have to make some changes. They say don't change a winning team, but Josh Butler is part of this kind of rest and recuperation. He's been sent home on the plane to rest. So he won't be part of the rest of the series. I bet they wouldn't have done that during an Ashes series.
Right.
So he's going to be not going to be there. And there's probably some question marks about Dom Bess as well, after serving up those full tosses in many full tosses today.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought he was a lot better in the first innings. I'm happy he went there, because I know England is going through some rotation situation where they have identified, even before the start of the series, that some players would play in the first 2, then they will be replaced, and the fact that the IPL is around the corner and so on, they're resting players. Should England reconsider that position, consider the fact that they were so clinical in that first test match? Shouldn't they want to keep the team together to ensure that they win the series and improve their position in the World Test Championships?
Well, I do. I totally agree with that. They should reconsider. I mean, what are we doing when England are prioritising a T20 competition over this series, which must rank as high in importance as the Ashes, the World Test Championships at stake? And surely this should be the top priority for an England team that's now won 6 test matches on the road and should be looking to put out an unchanged winning team. And because of decisions made before the tour in the interests of, it's because it's not just player rotation. Player rotation, I can understand. This is sending someone on a plane home. So he's not going to be, not going to be around to be selected. And, well, I'd like to see the rotation. I'd like to see Jimmy Anderson's face if they try and rotate him in the next game to bring Stuart Broad back in. Got to keep Jimmy Anderson there, which means it may be between Stuart Broad and Jofra Archer for that place. I mean, great problems to have for England in terms of selection. They've got so many people waiting to get on the park. Moeen Ali, of course, is standing by to take Dom Bess's place, potentially.
Yeah, your analysis, Brooks, no rebuttal, David. Thank you very much for your time. And as we build up to that second test, which starts starts a few days from now, we'll talk and reflect on the monumental performance of the skipper in this first test win for England. All the best.
It's huge. Thank you.
Excellent. David Brooks there speaking to us from his base in the UK. What about that second test? India looking for revenge. England looking to drive home the advantage. It goes off Friday, 11 p.m. if you're in Jamaica, midnight if you're outside, day 1. Don't miss a ball. We'll have every ball for you in HD right here, the home of champions.